Today's notes are going to be on the Pythagorean theorem. This is something that we use to find missing sides of right triangles, so right triangles only. We use the formula a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A and b are the legs. The legs are like right here and right here, the sides that are touching that box in the corner, which remember means 90 degrees, which makes it a right triangle. So remember it's 90 degrees, and we want to look for that little like box in the corner there of the triangle. So A and B can be used interchangeably as the legs, but C always has to be the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is just the name for the longest side of the triangle, and it's always across from the right triangle box. And so if we take a line and we go from this box to that side, that is always going to be C, and that's most important to remember for this. So we're going to use this formula here, this a squared plus b squared equals c squared to solve for x. So here we need to make sure that we know what we're solving for. Here we're solving for x, which is the hypotenuse, and so I know we're solving for c. So I'm going to say that x squared in place of c squared equals, now a and b can be used interchangeably, so I'm going to do 4 squared plus 7 squared. So x squared equals, now we want to solve down the right side of the equation first. So 4 squared is 16, 7 squared is 49. Remember, do not do times 2. Use your calculator and do squared. And then you want to use your calculator and do 49 plus 16, and we'll see that x squared equals 65. To solve this, we now have to take the square root of both sides. Kind of how we would divide by both sides or multiply by both sides to get rid of something. Now we take the square root. And we're just going to estimate that x is approximately 8.06. In radical form, it is just the square root of 65. And then in decimal form, that's what we get. Let's look at the next one. This time, we are not solving for c. Remember, c is across from that box. So my c is going to be 12 squared. And you can write this formula either way. I like to put c in the beginning and then the a and the b second. So you can do c squared equals a squared plus b squared, or a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And then we're going to have equals our a and our b, which again are interchangeable. And you can also change out the letters. You can do x squared, which is what is on the picture, or you can use the letters a and b. So we'll start by doing 12 squared. Again, use your calculator. It's 144. And then 8 squared is 64. Plus x squared. Now we want to solve it kind of like a normal equation, so we're going to subtract 64 from both sides. And we get 80 equals x squared. And then again, we want to solve it by taking the square root of both sides. And so x approximated is 8.9, or as an exact answer is the square root of 80. Okay, this one we're solving for this side. So again, remember this is going to be our c, and then a and b are interchangeable. So we'll have 73 squared equals x squared plus 48 squared. So these are some larger numbers. You probably will have to use your calculator for this one. 73 squared is 5,329, which equals x squared plus 2,304. So now we're going to take that 5,000 and subtract 2,304. And we'll get 3,025 equals x squared. Now we want to take the square root of our answer. And this does give us an exact answer of just 55. So there's no decimal in this one. Okay, now we want to find out what is the length of the missing side when we don't have necessarily a picture. So for these examples here, they tell us the legs of a right triangle, A and B, and the hypotenuse is C. And here they give us A and C, so they give us a leg and hypotenuse. And we want to know what is the missing side. So basically it's the same thing we did above, just without a picture. So we'll use our A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And just plug in the numbers. So we'll have 6.5, put that in parentheses so we can make sure that we know that that's a decimal there, squared plus B squared equals 9.9 squared. So we will get 42.25 plus B squared equals 98.01. And we're going to subtract 42.25 from both sides. So we get B squared equals 55.76. Take the square root of both sides. And our missing side is about 7.5. Okay, let's try it again. This time they give us A and B though, and we want to find out what C is. So again, plug in your numbers. So we'll have 35 squared plus 12 squared equals C squared. So 35 squared is 1,225. And then we have 12 squared, which is 144. Then we want to add those together. Take the square root of both sides. And C is 37. All right, one last one. They give us B and C this time, so we need to figure out what A is. So we'll have A squared plus 5.3 squared equals 7 squared. So A squared plus 28.09 equals 49. Subtract that from both sides, just like solving a regular equation. And we get that A squared equals 20.91. Take the square root of both sides, so we get A equals approximately 4.6. The last section of this is to tell whether we can create a triangle with the given side lengths. So for this one, there's kind of a sort of a formula. You want to do the small side plus the medium side, and we want to know, is that greater than the larger side? If it is, it makes a triangle. If it does not, then it won't make a triangle. Now we want to know specifically if it's a right triangle. So for this one, we are going to have to use the small side squared plus the medium side squared should equal the large side squared to fit into our A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And that will tell us specifically if it's a right triangle. So we'll take our smallest side of 8 plus our next biggest side, and does that equal 18 squared? If you want to, just enter these into your calculator, like all together, like 8 squared plus 16 squared, you can, and that would give you 320. And then you can just enter 18 squared, and it equals 324. And so this one is not a right triangle. It wouldn't form a triangle at all. So let's try this again. This one, they're not in order, so we have to do 9 squared, the smallest one, plus the next biggest one, equals 15 squared. So we'll get 225. And does that equal 15 squared? It does. So this is a right triangle. We have one more, so we'll have 2.1 squared plus 7.2 squared. Does that equal 7.5 squared? So this is 56.25. We have 7.5 squared is 56.25. So yes, this once again makes a right triangle.